Hello, hello, hello. Hello?
Driving in snow.
My name's Jennifer. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you, sweetheart.
moment, I'd like to address the oath of office for newly elected board members, Mrs. Stanton, Mr. Bear, and Ms. Taylor.
Repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this state,
and the Constitution of this state,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of member of the Board of Education
of the office of member of the Board of Education
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Okay, welcome Ms. Stanton, Mr. Bear, and Ms. Taylor. Moving on, we have the appointment of temporary chairman and secretary.
The Board of Education should appoint a temporary chairperson and temporary secretary in order to conduct the election of officers for Lakeview Board of Education for the remainder of the 24-25 school year through January 2026. Look for a motion.
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Education appoint the Superintendent of Schools, Carl D. Paulson, temporary chairperson, and Alyssa Cauldron as the temporary secretary.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Bear, support by Ms. Martin. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
As temporary chairperson, I'll conduct the election for president. If there should be two or more candidates, the election will be conducted by a voice vote. Upon completion of the election of the president, the newly elected president can take over the rest of the positions. The three additional officers to be elected, vice president, secretary, and treasurer. Do I have any nominations for president? Ms. Martin.
Mr. President, I would like to elect Dan Dombrowski as president, or nominate, sorry.
Ms. Martin offers Mr. Dombrowski for president.
Support.
We have a motion of support. Any other nominations? Hearing none. Congratulations, Mr. President.
Why, thank you. Thank you very much. All right, we'll keep this thing moving. We'll go on to vice president. Any nominations for vice president?
Mr. President, I nominate Robin Martin as vice president.
Any other nominations?
Mr. President, I nominate Mike Bayer as vice president.
Any other nominations? Okay, nominations are closed. All those in support for Ms. Martin signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We have 4. And those for Mr. Bear?
Aye.
3, okay. Ms. Martin? All right, secretary.
Mr. President, I nominate Robin Stanton as secretary.
Do we have any other nominations? Okay. Ms. Stanton will be the secretary and for the position of treasurer.
I nominate Mike Bayer as treasurer.
Any other nominations? All right, by acclamation, Mr. Bear, you are the treasurer for the 2025 campaign. So congratulations to Ms. Martin, Ms. Stanton, and Mr. Bear. Might want to move, everybody move to their new spots.
A little shuffle. You gonna do the nameplate? Not my business.
Usually you do a year of observing shit and not get an officer position your first year.
Mr. Secretary, our treasurer, Mr. Treasurer, thank you.
Oh, got it.
Oh, we've got two Robins now, huh?
M and S.
Okay, we all set?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Moving on with the agenda, item E, minutes of the regular meeting of the Board of Education, December 3, 2025.
Move their approval?
Support.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Martin, support by Ms. Taylor. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Madam Secretary, have we any public communication this evening?
No, I do not.
Thank you. Board of Education and Administration comments. Well, first, I'd like to wish all a happy new year. Unfortunately, I had a situation come up in November where I couldn't make the November and December meetings, so my apologies there, but things happen and you have to move on. Here's hoping that everybody had a safe and restful holiday. It was nice to be with family and friends and celebrate the holidays. Any other comments from other board members? Okay. Administration comments.
Absolutely. As we start this new year, I wish everyone, on behalf of our central staff, a happy new year and best wishes for 2025. We have continued to work on our bond projects throughout the break and right on through this spring with work starting on the high school pool and the high school auditorium in March, right in that window of time through the summer. Our task as a team here is going to continue implementing the district's strategic plan. There are a lot of things inside of that the board understands and reviews periodically, partly through my goals process. Last week, we had some good news. Moody's credit rating. Moody's is an entity that does credit ratings for organizations and businesses. Our credit rating with Moody's stayed strong at A2. It's about as high as we can be because we are a subset of the state of Michigan as far as the credit ratings go. And the state of Michigan is a AA, so you can't be higher than them if you're a subset of them. And there's only a couple of ratings above that. With respect to third-party validations, recently U.S. News & World Report started recognizing through their metric elementary and middle schools. U.S. News has been doing high schools for a lot of years. As referenced by our plaques in the lobby, going back to 2018 right through 2024, about our high school being recognized by U.S. News. We now know 3 of our elementaries and the middle school are recognized by U.S. News. So that's good news. And again, that third-party validation is great. So congrats to the staff at all those schools for all the good work you're doing, and the parents for the support to get those kids achieving and the quality of that outcome. And finally, January is Board Appreciation Month by the Michigan School Boards Association, so we'll have a little bit more to say about that a little later. Good?
Any other comments from administration? No? Anything else from the board?
I have one more.
Yes.
I can't forget this, because we are a silver and blue school. Go Lions!
Quite a run there. All right. Moving on to the student representative report. Ms. McDade, good evening.
Good evening. First, I have updates from the Wheat Early Childhood Center. Before break, each class had holiday celebrations. They even all had special visits from Santa himself. The preschoolers eased back into the school routine rather easily after 2 weeks off. The children were excited to tell all the staff about how they spent their holidays. This first week back, teachers are spending time reteaching classroom and school-wide expectations to set a positive tone for the rest of the school year. This month, they will have the Macomb County Health Department on site for 6 days, and they will be completing hearing and vision screenings on all of the preschoolers. This month in Bridges Math, they are learning about mittens, snow, and snowmen, as well as extending basic patterns and solving simple story problems. At the end of this month, they will have their next center-wide PBIS assemblies. The focus this time around will be teaching students how to be responsible at school. Next, Princeton Elementary. Princeton is very excited to kick off the new year. December was a terrific month with the PTO's Perry's Emporium and Santa Shops. As for January, on the 16th and 17th, the Science Alive program will be coming back to Princeton. Science Alive is a program that comes to each class individually and does presentations on various animals, while bringing the animals into the classrooms. It was a student and staff favorite last year, and everyone is looking forward to their return. In addition, the PTO Sweetheart Dance will be held at LHS on Saturday the 25th at 6 p.m. They can't wait to celebrate with all of their special people. Princeton hopes that everyone has a great January, and go Lions. Harmon. Harmon ended 2024 on a high note with their annual Santa Shop, provided by the PTO. The PTO also surprised the Harmon team with a new pair of couches and a new area rug for the staff lounge. Their partnership will continue to grow throughout the year. This week, Harmon kicks off winter NWEA testing for scholars in 3rd through 5th grades. These assessments will deliver growth and proficiency scores for scholars. When responding to the data, the Harmon instructional team plans to use it to implement instructional best practices in small group settings, address existing learning gaps, and extend learning to better prepare students for the spring 2025 M-STEP assessment. These strategies can help ensure that all students are prepared to meet and exceed expectations for the M-STEP in spring 2025 while addressing their individual learning needs. The Harmon PTO is sponsoring 2 upcoming events in January and February. On Wednesday, January 29th, is a Harmon Skate Night at Great Skate in Warren from 6 to 8. In February, Harmon PTO is partnering with JMS to host the annual Sweetheart Dance from 6 to 8. Harmon's special education team put together a Gift of Reading social media project. This year, they were able to get all 33 Harmon students with special needs a high-interest book at their skill level for free with the help of friends and families. All books were wrapped and sent home with the kids for the holiday. Ardmore Elementary. The Ardmore community's generosity truly shined this holiday season. Thanks to the incredible giving spirits of families, they were able to support many Ardmore families with Christmas gifts, bringing joy to those students and their loved ones. Before the break, Ardmore hosted a wonderful Santa Shop and vendor night that was a huge success. The evening was filled with excitement as families shopped, supported local vendors, and even got a special visit from Santa. Now, as they gear up for the new year, they are filled with energy and enthusiasm to start 2025 strong. Greenwood Elementary. They are excited to be back after the holiday break and ready to dive into their routines with the students. Prior to the break, they wrapped up the year with a memorable final week. One highlight was the first ever buddy lunch, where older and younger buddy classes paired up for both recess and lunch. This experience allowed older students to model positive behavior and foster strong, lasting relationships with their younger peers. They also ended that week with some fun in the cafeteria, playing a spirited game of Name That Song with Mrs. McNally. As they start the new year, Greenwood is welcoming several new students into the school family. Current students have been exceptional in making their new classmates feel welcome and modeling the Greenwood way. Teachers have been working hard to implement the new Bridges curriculum and other curricular tools, with some even being invited into their colleagues' classrooms to observe and learn from one another's teaching strategies. This highlights the dedication and collaboration that makes the teachers exceptional. To set the tone for a successful start, they held a New Year assembly led by the PBIS team. During the assembly, they revisited the core values of respect, responsibility, and safety, and provided examples of how Greenwood students can lead by example. This event helped reinforce the expectations while fostering community as students transition back into the school routine. Tonight, Greenwood Student Council presents you with thank you posters as a part of their ongoing effort to understand and appreciate how the school functions. Through their work in student government, they have come to learn about the role you, as the school board, play in shaping their educational experiences. Thank you for your dedication and support. Jefferson Middle School. The JMS staff wishes the board a happy new year. The JMS staff and Hope Fund adopted multiple families for the holidays to assist in their Christmas wish lists. JMS welcomed students back yesterday with the start of semester 2 and quarter 3. The JMS PBIS team planned to welcome back, refresh, reset, and renew. That was done in all classes on the first day back in January. This reminded students of important policies and procedures at JMS to set them up for a successful third quarter. NWEA winter testing will take place this month for all grades in math and reading. Lastly, Lakeview. Lakeview staff hopes that all LHS families had a great winter recess and are ready to get back into the swing of things with the start of the new semester. A reminder to LHS students that if you need your schedule changed, please scan the QR codes found around the building to make an appointment with your counselor. NWEA testing will take place January 14th through the 16th. Happy New Year and welcome to the second semester.
All right. Still, lots going on. Thank you very much. It seems like there was quite a lot happening during the holidays and preparation leading up to, so awesome. Good stuff. Any comments for our student rep this evening? No. Once again, thank you very much for your report. Okay, moving on to appointment of board subcommittees.
At the time, Board of Education traditionally appoints board members to subcommittees. Listed below are the 2024 subcommittee members under Personnel, Curriculum, Building and Site, Finance, and Ad hoc. At this time, Mr. President.
Okay, moving on to the five. The first one, personnel. We had Ms. Martin, formerly Mr. Miners, and Mr. Miskelly. Anybody want to slide into personnel, or Ms. Stanton?
Sure.
Okay, for curriculum, we have Ms. Martin, Ms. Taylor, and again, Mr. Miners, whose spot is open unless somebody else wants to move into it. Got it? Okay. Next, we have building and site, Mr. Asia, Mr. Bear, and Ms. Martin. Any desires for any changes there? No? Okay. Finance, Mr. Asia, Mr. Bear, and Ms. Taylor. Any desires for change there? No? Okay, and then lastly, we've got ad hoc. We have Mr. Asia, Mr. Miskelly, and Mr. Miners. Sure?
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Stanton. Okay, so for 2025, we have, for personnel, we have Ms. Martin, Ms. Stanton, and Mr. Miskelly. For curriculum, we have Ms. Martin, Ms. Taylor, and Ms. Stanton. Building and site, Mr. Asia, Mr. Bear, and Ms. Martin. Finance, Mr. Asia, Mr. Bear, and Ms. Taylor. And ad hoc, we have Mr. Asia, Ms. Stanton, and Mr. Miskelly. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Cool. All right, we move on. Setting the 2025 Board of Education meeting dates.
The attached calendar has been prepared for board consideration. The board proposed calendar was developed with the same meeting schedule and layout as calendar year 2024. Administration expects to provide the board a similar schedule of training topics as considered in 2024. At this time, administration is requesting board meeting dates for February 2025 through January 2026.
Move their approval.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Martin, support by Mr. Bear. Discussion on the motion.
Let's put it close to deer season.
I would only add, we did have some exchange of a question and answer regarding maybe being at one of the buildings to see an elementary, the new work that was done, and maybe even in February being at the high school. And if you're all okay with that, we'll plan to work that out that way.
I'm in support of that.
Yeah, the last school visit we did was to Jefferson Middle School and Ardmore. This goes back a few years, and we typically do 2 a year, just to rotate. And with the big C that we dealt with a few years ago and everything else going on, construction, et cetera, so I think we're in a good position now. We can continue the tour and do a couple buildings this next year. High school for one, because there's a lot going on there, and then the administration will pick another elementary building to be next on the list, and then the following year, catch the last two. Fair enough?
Sounds good. Perfect.
Any issue with the April meeting date on tax day? For the procrastinators?
They'll have my money by then.
Now, I'd just like to make a comment that in the event that there's any disciplinary situations on either of those board meeting nights where it's not appropriate for us to not be at this building, you know, I'm willing to, I just want to be aware and cognizant of that, right?
And usually, even in the high school situation, I think you know,
Yeah.
we've used the media center as an alternative source to be able to do the hearings, even though we're scheduling at that building.
I know Mr. Asha has trouble with the hunting season. Any problems with us moving it back to November 11th? Will that work?
Is that?
I'll be there for that one.
We don't want
Is it-
Mr. Asha to be
is it-
excluded.
Is it election day?
No.
No, November 4th.
Is there any reason administratively for the board or things that are going on where it's advantageous for us to have it later in November at all? Or is there anything you're aware of?
I mean, I think it's more problematic if you're coming in right after Thanksgiving.
Then
with a
December
short week
2nd
up in
is the
front of
next
that.
Yeah.
So being on the 11th would be a better choice in my thoughts.
Me
I love
personally,
that idea. It's also Veterans Day. 11.
I enjoyed having that longer period of time out. I enjoyed having our meeting for December earlier in the season, in my opinion.
Okay, so from what I'm seeing here, the only real change is November 11th, or November 18th and November 11th, correct? Any other comments, concerns? I'm sorry?
All of their mics aren't on, but the,
Oh, if you guys want to turn your mics on.
Oh, support.
All right, any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item K, school board recognition.
well, we have a chance to say a few kind words. You have the thank you posters here at your table. You have some of them out in the lobby over there in the showcase. We have a bag there with some interesting trinkets in it. You've got a certificate from the School Boards Association. And you have a little poetry coming here at your way. It doesn't seem enough. That's the title of this one. It doesn't seem enough. We want to tell you thank you, but it doesn't seem enough. Words don't seem sufficient. Blah, 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 and all that stuff. Please know we have deep feelings about your generous work and acts. We really appreciate you. You're special, and that's a fact. Short and sweet.
Thank you.
Have you ever considered working for Hallmark?
No.
I don't think they have either.
Yeah. My staff around here know how I feel about Hallmark and holidays.
Well, thank you, administration, Mr. Paulson, for the kind words. You know, for me, this is not about any personal thing or agenda to get things done. It's about the kids, you know, focusing on the kids and helping them achieve and be successful. You know, the biggest reward I have as a board member, not speaking for everybody else, is that date in June when you see these kids walking across the stage getting their diplomas after working so hard for 13 years to achieve the level of getting their high school diploma. So, that there's reward in that, and for me, that's pretty much the reward. But then, getting involved with other things out in the community with the schools, whether it's a football game or whether it's a parade, athletics, academics, getting involved in these things is very rewarding, and that's what makes this position so valuable, is that you can get something out of it. So, we strive to do the best we can at all times, but, things don't always go everybody's way, because everybody has an opinion, and, collectively, we do the best we can with the information that we have. And to that end, I'd like to thank my board members for, being fellow board members and making this a success in Lakeview. Any other comments?
It's just an honor and a privilege to be a part of our school and organization and give back to the community and help and be a part of, our leadership. It's amazing.
And another big plus is, the generosity of our voters to allow us to use taxpayer money, through votes for bonds, to do the improvements we've been doing over the last 25 years here at Lakeview. We've done a lot over the last 25 years, but there's more runway that we have to cover here to get us where we think we should be. So, it's good to see that, we're always wanting to keep moving forward and doing the right thing so that our educators can get our kids educated and provide them the best opportunity to help them succeed when they walk across that stage in June. So, thank you to the community for their support as well. Anything else? All right. Thank you. Moving on to item L, student recognitions, Martin Luther King Jr. District Contest winners.
All right, it looks like we have some students and their families here. When you hear your name, go ahead and come up to receive your reward, and so we can get a picture. So Lakeview Public School students participated in a district Martin Luther King Jr. student art contest. The theme of the contest was kindness, and all art forms were accepted. Tonight, we are recognizing 2 students at the elementary level. The first place goes to Layla Cole, 5th grade at Princeton. And our second place for elementary goes to Coda Pilat Fight, 2nd grade at Greenwood. Our top 3 winners at Jefferson Middle School are as follows. First place, Isabella Egley, 6th grade. Second place goes to Alana Fitzgerald, also 6th grade. And then third place, Michaela Johnson, 7th grade. Then Lakeview High School's art department announced their top 3 winners. First place, Future Knight, 11th grade, for digital illustration. Second place, Aiden Fuller, 10th grade, photo. And for third place, Jordan Adkins, 10th grade, drawing. All right, at this time, the Lakeview Board of Education would like to recognize and thank all of our district art teachers. Please join me in congratulating these staff and the student artists on a job well done.
All right, once again, congratulations to all of our award winners this evening for, once again, job well done. Okay. We have one more item here, the future financing discussion, then after that, we will take a brief recess.
We'll ask our team coming in, construction and design team, to come on in and be present so we can have any question and answer we need to with them. Families are welcome to leave if you want.
But they didn't want to see construction discussions? I was hoping they'd stick around.
I graduated from Lakeview 52 years ago.
Outstanding.
Nice,
My granddaughter will be graduating.
nice.
Probably McCall Bailey or something.
Okay. Nobody's going to be here.
What are you looking for votes?
I'll stay.
Huh?
I'll stay.
There we go.
Are you gonna run again?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure.
Who's the guy in the audience?
I don't know.
Yeah, so it was on our December 3rd.
Might as well be.
We'll see what we use today.
Yeah, Mr. Paulson, nice job.
I did see somebody came out.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. We only hope that, huh?
This guy was fine with what we're gonna decide money-wise.
They're gonna stumble their way in.
And
It's all good.
you're ahead, hopefully.
Have a seat anywhere.
It's all good.
We have Vicki Smith from Partners in Architecture, Daryl Dombrowski from Bart Mallow or Don Brow, and then Scott Bruni from Wright Hunter, technology consultant, just as a reference point if you have questions. I will start with just sharing. You have another updated view of what would be looking like wheat if we wanted to add space to that facility. It was at your table tonight. We have confirmed with the fire marshal that adding classrooms to the back of this property, as long as we can keep a fire lane between the resident property and the building that's wide enough for the trucks, we're okay to add to the back of the building. As far as fire marshal goes, there's a lot more implications, I suppose, with what we'd have to do in terms of storm lines and water lines and whatnot. But just so you have a sense of what's possible and acceptable in the sense of one of the things we thought would be a big problem possibly, but it is not, as long as that pathway that's shown as an arrow on that drawing, you can see. Then you can also see, we have given you the document that had some financial cost estimates in your packet this past week, and you had them before. That one document was assuming 4 classrooms and some hallway space. Yes, Robin was holding it up. It was December 6th document. You got it again. Which carries for the preschool classrooms, about a $3.6 million estimate at this point. I would say, let's just say it's 4, now that's assuming 4 rooms. It could be we, go through the design and see what would 5 be. And so the question for really is, because this is a more pressing need, the only thing we're looking for you tonight is, if you want us to go into the detail, have the architects start doing some drawing and some investigation. We get a better sense, when you start looking at storm lines and power sources and, sprinkling, the things that are required for a childcare facility. We have sprinkling coming in the, corner of the building from the road. Whether that's strong enough to do so many more classrooms is a question we don't have answered yet. But those sort of things we wouldn't do that work unless you felt like, hey, it's probably something we need to consider because the program changes that came with the state funding of GSRP, those program changes will drive parent interest into wanting free preschool at sections of either 16 or 20, and that's a thing we'd have to work with our paraprofessional union on. So there's a working conditions. But even if we went from 16 to 20, our total enrollment for the preschool operation we have today at 250 or 260 will automatically drop when you take a classroom all day and you have it at 16 or 20 instead of having some classrooms that are serving more kids part-time. That gets us connected to those families 3 days a week or 2 days a week, which is what the structure is for some of the tuition classes. So a classroom might be serving 38 or 40 families. When we go to GSRP and they want it free, which they all will, I mean, Jessa's in the back with the supervisor of the preschool, they're all going to want free if it's available to be free. We then have less families we connect to because we will have less kids we can serve in the limited classrooms we have. So that's kind of where this came from. We thought about alternate sites, other places, if we bought something, other property and built. And the reality is we already have the operations set up here. If we can add classrooms at the back of the facility and still make it work, it's going to change parking, it's going to change traffic flow, things like that. But we have a large parking lot out front. It's not that we couldn't handle, I think, the nature of still serving the same number of kids or similar number of kids, but in more classrooms all day with lunch, right? So it's a different program than tuition is. And we don't want to give up our 3-year-old operation because those are feeders to the 4-year-old, which are feeders to kindergarten. And when we serve, 140 or 150 4-year-olds, the vast majority of them sign right up for kindergarten the first day it's available to sign up for it. Because they're already connected to us in a high-quality program. We know from licensing folks that go around the whole county, we are A-class. Like, if there was a recognition from U.S. News and World Report for preschool, we would have that. Because this operation is high quality. And if you don't have the classrooms at some point, you're losing those families to somewhere else and potentially then losing them to kindergarten if they have a good experience. Unfortunately, the way the state did this, with throwing the money out there right off the get-go, the small storefront private operators can throw a storefront together in 3 months and have it ready to go, and then where the kids go from there, whatever, right? They don't operate a K-12 system. But you have other K-12 systems who have classroom space because they've been shrinking, and they will have GSRP seats potentially to offer for families. Our preschool enrollment right now is about 50-50, what would be school of choice families and resident families, similar to our student population as a whole. So once we get families connected to us early, which we want them earlier, right? They're more successful when they're connected to us early, and then they stay with us all the way through in many cases. So, if nothing else, we're just seeking from the board on this GSRP classroom question, and it's, the timeliness is we have to have some construction documents developed and drawings developed and things to really know what is the cost, true cost, and what will that look like in detail. But we wouldn't do that work if you're going to say, no, let's not, right? But if you're saying, hey, that's stuff we need to have answers for that in detail, because if it's a $4 million cost to build 4 classrooms or a $5 million cost to build 5 classrooms, That's not a permanent solution because we probably would need 8 or 9 to really service 250 or 60 kids. But at least we can phase in, beginning with the back of the building, and add those in. And then if the longer term, the need's still there for more, the other end of this building where we're housed, we can be housed anywhere. We don't have any special rules about the facility licensing stuff. So it could be down the road, administration has moved out of this building as a result of expanding preschool even more. But I think that's a question we can delay while we phase in starting some of these things. And the idea would be, can we have it built by fall 2026? That's in the end what the target would be. We won't have it this fall, even if you said go. And this overlaps to the future financing question because you can start design and even start construction and include it as a part of a bond treasury application if you want to go down that path. In the bond treasury application, in the ballot language or the ballot language would be written in such a way that this could be included as a part of a bond if you wanted to pay for it in the future off of a bond sale. And if you had a bond vote in November of 25, we'd sell bonds in January, February of 26 and have the funds to pay for the work that was ongoing through that fiscal year. So we think that connecting to the preschool families as much as possible is a benefit to the district in the long term. Certainly it benefits kids. That's why, we had a governor and legislature saying, let's put money into this and get as many kids taking preschool as possible in whatever venue they can do it. And when GSRP is funded the level it's funded at now, there's going to be a market for interest to it, and parents are going to want that. And if it's free somewhere else, they will go to free, even if they have to travel a couple of miles. So I open it up for any thoughts or reactions to, what we're thinking about and asking about.
Well, this would be just a small component of the big picture then of what we'd be looking at doing as far as a bond goes.
You would, right. And it's, what we have is the timeliness of a turnaround to say, break ground in the fall, to take a year to build those rooms and have them open in August or September of 26. That's sort of the issue. As far as a bond goes, we have the history from 2019's Treasury application of the things we didn't do, which was another little spreadsheet document you got. It sort of said, here's what we did. We spent $54 million to get $41 million worth of stuff out of that Treasury application done. And the big priorities were done, right? The stadium, the elementary school offices and classrooms, the middle school wing, those big priorities were done. The wing at the high school, pool and auditorium. So the miscellaneous things like lighting, windows, some electrical upgrades where they need to be, a lot of HVAC equipment that we might have been able to do if the COVID escalation didn't happen, those things are still out there. But we were able to, because we're doing a lot of preventive maintenance and other things to keep things alive, we were able to extend that and choose not to do them to keep the high priority topics in the list and get them done, right? And those will get done. We're at the end of that. The pool and the auditorium are what the last bids that you're sitting there, and you'll watch that work start in a couple of months. But when you think about the other things we haven't done, you were on the board in 2001, and the community supported the 2001 bond, and that was the whole district HVAC, heating, cooling, and boilers, and that was the whole district was revamped
Plus the auditorium.
as a part of that bond, which means all of that equipment was installed at the same time, 2002, 2003, at every building. So classroom AC units, fan motors, all the rooftop units,
the chiller at the high school auditorium that's now failed that we're replacing in the next couple of months. Those things are gonna continue to happen. And we've replaced a bunch of them anyway already. So you're spending general fund money to replace classroom AC units along the way because they're all failing at the same time, essentially 20 years, 25 years later. So all of those things we know are they would be in a treasury application for another bond. And then you have the lighting in this room. Mr. Dabrowski pointed out some of the lamps that are out. We can't get the lamps. They don't make them anymore. And this is only 2012 stuff, right? And you can pay for your lighting replacement because the technology is so different from 15 years ago or 20 years ago. Yeah, fluorescent lights are more efficient, but the LED lamps are even more efficient, and you save, in 2 years, you pay for the change just by the electricity savings. Well, you don't pull, hundreds and hundreds of lamps throughout the district without that being under a bond cost, because it turns into multiple millions of dollars. But it's something we should do. We're able to not do it with this bond because we ran out of priority. We had the big ticket priorities to make the district a little bit more up to date. But whether you have fluorescent lights or LED lights, yeah, it'd be great if you could get the LED lights done, but we weren't able to do that with this bond because of COVID escalation. But that's not gone. Tennis courts, we did them in 2008, 9. They're cracking up again. They're unsafe. When you get cracks this wide in the asphalt, it's not a safe space. You have HVAC rooftop units. Those things are, 100, 150,000, 200,000 a piece. We've saved money. We have savings, but you're going to swallow up all that savings and you're still not going to have anything done in the big picture. So you say preschool classrooms and you say all these other things that we know we didn't do, plus new things that have come up. We get into the 30 millions in a blink, and you saw that on the spreadsheet. You quickly rise to the 30 millions. Ironically, this wasn't a plan, but the reality of it is the no tax increase bond concept can be utilized again, which it was in 07 and it was in 2019. It can be utilized again, and if you looked at the Baker-Tilly spreadsheet from the board presentation December 3rd, where the tax levy slowly goes down, or if you don't and you have a bond, it actually can generate 38 million on the bond with no tax increase. I don't think it's, it wasn't a planned thing to quickly get into a 30-some million dollar problem and see that you can solve it with a bond that's a no tax increase bond and have it possibly 38 million as your target. And that changes every day as taxable values change. As they go up and your taxable rate stays, then there's more bond money that comes as a result of that. So a year from now, that could be 40 million, just with the math.
Yeah, but when you say no tax increase, we're talking tax rate.
Levy, the levy amount.
Specifically, because.
Under the assumptions of the taxable value where it is.
Yeah, and everybody's taxable values have been fluctuating, and over the last several years, they've been going up. So that results in additional tax, so we'd have to focus on no tax rate increase. The taxes themselves at the home will go up because your
value
of the home's going up. So there is a change in tax to the common homeowner, so it's the rate that does not change, or ought not change.
So, GSRP classrooms, thoughts, reactions?
I'm in favor of GSRP classrooms, and I'm in favor of having them be at this campus instead of an alternative campus, because we'll have more flexibility in the future if anything changes to utilize that space, because it's close to the high school, close to the junior high, and more easily managed.
I agree with Ms. Martin on that. I think that to have an appropriate educational campus to start as early as possible and get them all the way as far as we can go with the APs and everything else, more education, the better for our community. It makes a stronger community, and I agree 100%.
I do have a question on these drawings. We were talking about having access around the building. One of the drawings here has, it appears, classrooms up close to the neighbors, where the other one shows an apparent pathway for vehicles to get around. So I'm assuming this one is not one that's viable?
It's just cut off. I think the parking spaces are just cut off of the drawing, not that, that's the
So
wall.
there is more room here to the left of the blue check marks.
They're looking at what you sent today. He's referencing
Yeah,
what you
like
sent
what,
today.
do you want to take a minute and explain the difference between these two drawings? Because it is a little bit confusing.
So the drawing that has the classroom breakdowns in it, that one.
The blue and red checks?
Isn't as bright with the blue and red checks. This one was one of the very initial space studies that we did. So I actually met with the fire marshal today to discuss the fire lane distances and whatnot we need off of the property line in order for them to have access to the building. So we do need the 20 feet minimum shown on this plan. So we would need to confine the addition to this space and we can come around the building, but we need to have a 40-foot clearance.
So this one with the red and the blue check marks is not to be considered at this point because of that very reason with the access.
Make sure we have that fire lane.
Okay.
So that just means we lose that courtyard, is that correct? Like kind of,
Yeah,
like
this
I'm,
was a super initial
Yeah.
preliminary sketch, so there likely wouldn't be a courtyard with having to maintain that fire.
okay.
But you might have a sidewalk in between the two buildings. I remember us talking a little bit about having windows that have natural light, and if you have a space between the two facilities, essentially, you're building a new facility, essentially on its own, independent of the current building, and then you're attaching them.
Right. And that could be one path that we follow now that we have setbacks and whatnot that we use for these four classrooms could fit in here, and consider the building code along.
But that's work we would do, get to a point where, progress is being made so that, because we wouldn't be able to wait a couple, 3 months and have this turn around and be able to open in the target of August of 26. It would be, that's the imminence of it, essentially.
I'd love it, let's do it.
And with or without a bond,
Do it, start, give me a shovel.
I mean-
Start.
I got my hat left
I'm
over
ready.
from last
I'm
time.
already ready to start.
with or without a bond, the reality is, I'm not advocating that we pay for it with money we already have saved. I'm not advocating that because I think there's other reasons to have savings. And having capital projects money for things that aren't on a bond list, that, as we've seen, like we're gonna take care of the auditorium chiller because we have savings. And that was not on the bond list, but it's necessary to do it. And we're not waiting to find out how we could finance it. We're using funding we already saved to pay for that almost $400,000 replacement for a big area of the high school.
Is the state offering any kind of funding or monies to build for growth? Am I wrong?
No, we would utilize the qualification bonds the state supports so that it's more guaranteed. You get better interest rates typically by using that pathway. You heard on December 3rd, you could vote to have a bond sale on your own. It has limitations as to how much that can be, different than if you have the community vote for a bond, and I'm not advocating that either, because I think if your community should support what your interests are and your intentions are, and, when you explain it to folks, generally speaking, they go, oh, that makes sense. And, we've never done, while I've been here 23 years, we've never done something that's flashy. Even the roof lines at the elementary schools, we sort of, they were sloped initially, and it was like, well, how can we save money? Because remember, COVID was happening, right? How can we save money on these facilities, these drawings and these sketch ideas? Well, if you flatten out the entrance and don't have that, that peak on that entrance to those elementary schools, it'll be $20,000 a building. Take the entrance down. We might remember that conversation as a part of the board table. The architects don't like that. They like things that look pretty and flashy, right? But in the end, this is about functionality. and the high-quality functionality, not necessarily about how high-quality looks. Now, they look good. That was part of the interest. Curb appeal, make it look like it's 2000 at least, not 1955 in those 4 elementaries. And the high school already had some of that facelift. And when we were done with the middle school, they already had some of that facelift between the 2 bonds. So now we're in the position where we're going back to the not so flashy stuff. You know, if you talk about heating and cooling, not a lot of people see that. They know when it doesn't work. Those of you who had high school kids the last couple of weeks,
Yeah,
you know,
there's no shock in
you know
that.
when it doesn't when it doesn't work. And you know, lighting. Obviously, if you can't replace lights, then what are you going to do? We're going to do some sort of makeshift solutions, or you're going to do a full-blown replacement and take care of business for the long term, for another 20 years.
What's the trend been? You may recall a couple, 3 years ago, we had very slow progress in some of our buildings. And then things seemed to move along better last year, because you couldn't find people to work. They were only gonna work so long every day. I mean, it was a joke. What's the trend at this point? Is it looking like that, work will get done in a more efficient manner, or is this gonna get?
Definitely with the amount of work that's been in the market, that there's been, and the age of the tradesmen, that there's been a lack of people to complete some of those projects. I would say that what we've been looking at with this project is timing it around, and bidding it around, the appropriate seasons, so that if we start in the fall, that tends to be a time when contractors are available, can work through the winter into the fall. So I think when it comes to bidder participation over the last, several projects, we've seen that come up, and I think that trend would stay here. I don't think we'd have a problem at all getting bidders on the project.
Another thing as a side note that I've seen in the media as of recent is, and I like it, is that a lot of the kids that are graduating school are deciding to go into the trades, which is very good, very nice, to see people get involved and take a different career path instead of, in many cases, taking on that tremendous debt that comes with college. They can go get some quick training and get out there in the workforce.
High demand too, so
Yep.
high demand means high pay, and so there's definitely a value now. Especially younger people are seeing get in trades.
So that's refreshing. So, all right.
I didn't hear anybody say, don't do preschool classrooms. I heard a number of people say, let's go. We've suggested it's the potential of a phasing process, because doing the first phase, we see how that comes together, see what happens with the state financing. There's a lot of factors to consider in the short term, several year future. And if it stays funded, then okay. And if there's demand, okay. Now, there's a different question as to whether we're going to stay in this building, or whether we might turn more of the space into classrooms for preschool.
I do have one question. So with the later drawing you provided with the big light blue space here, which is more reflective of what things would be, how many classrooms do we get with that additional space?
This would reflect
4?
approximately 4.
Okay. As opposed to 6, another drawing?
Here's a question regarding the preschool. As we expand the preschool down the rails, depending on how many kids we get, will that pose any problems in the future for the existing buildings in their capacities, or are these classroom sizes going to get very large?
What we're hoping this does is keeps us at the enrollment we currently have. It doesn't grow that number if GSRP is where the bulk of the kids are. In other words, if I can serve 38 or 40 kids in one room with tuition and the mix of schedules and whatnot, and I can only serve 20 in every room, you can see how if we're going to have to serve 20 in every room, we have to double the number of rooms. Now, we think there's a market for 3-year-old tuition, and that's partly what we will keep. But lots of the 4-year-old, because preschool, because GSRP's paid, lots of the 4-year-olds will go to that GSRP. They will seek out the GSRP slots wherever they're available. So our hope is that we're going to lose kids next fall. absolutely, we will have a smaller number of families serviced next fall because GSRP is already free for basically everybody. And even if you're, 90th percentile income family, then it's only a sliding scale. So I think, you made a reference to $20 a week instead of the tuition cost. Because your income, as you exceed the income limitation, if there's slots, you can sliding scale that up and you're not paying as much. You're paying a little bit when you exceed the income minimums. So our hope is we don't lose too many immediately, and that by the time we have these open, we fill them all back up, and then we see is the state still funding it? There's a lot of what-ifs that come down the road. I've said to our staff, if the state starts to run out of money, and I got a note today that says they actually underestimated revenue all 3 years, 23, 24, 24, 25, and 25, 26, to the tune of $1 billion underestimated revenue. That tells me GSRP funding will be there this year and next year, because there's money they didn't spend in 23, 24, $1 billion. School aid running, I'm talking, not just overall. And when the money dries up, I think the first thing to go is free lunch. We go back to the federal system where you qualify for lunch under the federal guidelines, and the rest of the people pay for lunch and breakfast. So I think that's the first thing the state will eliminate if they have to eliminate something. And then, of course, we're all going to advocate if they eliminate something else, it better be the $400 million they spend on community college and universities out of the school aid fund, a la the K-12 school aid fund. That's how Proposal A was written. It wasn't written for any educational purpose the state thinks is right, and the legislature's, just choosing to fund universities and community colleges out of that pot of money to the tune of $1.4 billion. So I think that number gets smaller before they start cutting preschool, because preschool is paid out of K-12 as well.
In the fall, could we temporarily use this room for space for classrooms?
Childcare won't meet licensing. It's our joke around here. We're expendable, so we don't have fire alarms, we don't have sprinkling, we don't have any of that stuff on this side of the building. When you come in the front door and you see those fire doors, that's the separation point where sprinkling and all the licensing requirements are covered. And behind that door this way, we're expendable.
It's a tough way of putting it.
But the good news is we do already have sprinkling to the facility, and adding this side to that system, albeit it might need a bigger pipe in the driveway out there to come off the road. But I think we would be able to more easily do it because we already have it in the facility, if you wanted to end up taking over this side of the building for preschool. Bond treasury application. So the other thing that would go on with this, like as we get, and we already know the 2019 not completed list, and we can provide that to you probably Friday. We know what those more details are from the treasury application in 2019. We can start to generate what would be a facility audit and study to confirm all of the specific pieces of equipment, all of the specific, areas that a lighting replacement would be, and then come to a better number that would be potentially a bond treasury app. And you can look at that and discuss that in a couple of months. That's not as imminent to start design and draw. However, once that couple of months is sort of, laid out there with the data and the numbers and the details, it is pretty fast after that, where you would end up saying, go to Treasury and file that document and get a meeting, because that would be like June probably. And then July, you're probably talking about ballot language at this table, with Crowley, the lawyer that was here December, guiding you on how that ballot language would look. And then if you're looking like a November 25 vote. and the sequence of this timing, that's what your target should be. You could do an August 25 vote, but we won't be prepared for that. We don't have enough time to prepare for that. To be able to get into this 26 calendar year taxes and hold that levy rate at 695, I think is where it was right now. That's kind of how that would unfold, timing-wise.
I'm still in favor of that whole process, just like we had a discussion the last time.
Yeah, a couple of you lived through you've lived through several bonds, but so have I. A couple of the others were here for 2019 and 07, were you around in 07 too?
No.
No? Just the booster band, booster president. So.
Because 07, yeah, no, still.
Sounds like we have some feeling of, yes, move forward and go after this and see where we can end up and get some things in front of you going forward with this concept.
Sure, we don't know what we don't know at this point, so we might as well do some due diligence and figure out what the scope is gonna be.
Any questions or things we need to know that only they can answer? It's probably not anything that strikes you.
I think that the lesson learned last time was, things cost more than we expect, or unforeseen conditions in that particular case. But,
Right.
I think what we do need to understand is we have an opportunity where we think we have 30-something million in need. That need after this assessment might be $40 or $50 million. We can't generate that kind of money. So we'll have to make some prioritization like we did last time as well.
Mhm.
So the idea is that 30-something million that we can generate through a bond may not, probably will not meet all that we may have. But it takes care of
The bigger ones. Yeah. Okay.
That's what the assessment's about, is to quantify.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and we didn't, I made reference to the obvious big things that, just some obvious small things that cost a lot in your world.
Staff replacement, laptops.
Very cyclical.
And if I know, like, this from experience, parking's gonna be, it's already chaos in the morning. I mean, I don't drown the kids off that much, but like, it's chaos in the morning. I don't even like, there's no way to put spots, or that's just something like, is there a way to have parking space?
No, but I think one of the things we would do, because it's already being done, is we would stagger the start times of the classrooms potentially, and that's kind of already happening a little bit, just because we've gotten bigger. I mean, remember, we came over here, we started with 3 classrooms, and now it's 9 in just a few years. 2014.
Over here and walk them, and it's like, it's easier to walk 300 yards than even risk driving over there.
We'll look at the best place for that new entry, because if it's still back here, probably not parking, there's no parking access yet.
That's just an idea of something to think of, that's, come tomorrow morning at 8:15.
Yep.
You can see the.
Yep.
the beauty
Drive
of
by
it.
this building
Yeah.
used to, every morning and every evening.
Let's just make that, think of that for that.
Well, and we have a neighbor next to us who has a giant parking lot that has 12 cars in it all day. There's arrangements, just like the 7-Eleven strip mall is renting space from us for the employees to park at the end of the high school parking lot. And it's a little lease agreement, several you don't even know about because we did it a few years back. But that building owner knew, I can't operate these businesses here with staff parking in the front. I need space for patrons in the front. And so we, had council guide us on what would be proper pricing for something like that. And so there's a little revenue coming in as part of leasing some parking spaces for their employees to park on the high school lot. It's not unbelievable to think there could be some arrangement with whomever owns that building over there. And who knows, down the road, maybe that's us, again.
And Mr. Van Peren, you had mentioned technology. I know in my world, a lot of the equipment that's being used now has been sunset by Cisco. When I speak of equipment, I'm talking about switch and routers, that type of gear, and firewalls, et cetera. How were we at this point with all of our buildings? Is that something we're looking down the barrels of? Because
It is. We actually have some of that in the current bond piece that will be happening here before we close out. And we've done some of that already. We have some that is still yet to come. And then that, as you know, is always part of our replacement and refresh cycle. That's worked in is at what point, we know it doesn't last forever. So whatever funding source we go through next is going to have that as part of the plan and part of the project list. Yes.
thank you. Oh, all right, so that's not bad.
Yeah.
Again, within the next, if we look at the next 10 years in front of us, it's going to, refresh.
Now, what about the servers and/or vSANs that we may have? What's the lifeline on those at this point? We're good?
Again, we replaced that equipment.
We have.
With bonds, we have fresh gear, we have things that are under warranty again, we're not for parts on eBay. So we're in a much better position, but as you know well now, those devices have a fixed life as well. 5 to 7 years, all your screws out of them before they're not gonna be as, newer technology's gonna be out there, or that equipment's not gonna be under warranty or under support.
And the wireless backbone and the access points in these buildings are pretty new as well then, if I remember correctly, because we.
Yes, we have.
But again, as that technology improves year after year after year, you get into a situation where the devices don't support the old protocols.
Yes.
To upgrade.
Yep.
It's this
Oh, yeah.
constant cycle that you're very aware of.
Oh, yes.
That's been created for us. But in order to keep up, in order to support, the number of devices, we don't realize how complex school networks are. It's like a large corporation. You have tens of thousands of devices that are turning on every day, getting resources in this building, in the high school. All that has got to work every day, every minute. You can't squeeze 20 years out of something like a boiler
Right.
technology, or you will have.
Wait, my iPhone 8 won't connect to the new stuff?
It's fine. Fine.
All right, any other comments? Is there anything else you want as far as direction?
Yes, I have a question. With adding all those extra classrooms, will there be a requirement to enlarge the play area?
The play area is actually being enlarged. That's part of this, when would we do, how would we do to avoid destroying anything we're about to install, because this is gonna double in size out here as a part of the bond work we already approved. You already approved the bids for these. The site work timing couldn't work the field and the playground simultaneously because the contractor and the number of people they have available, but those playgrounds are gonna get worked on. Probably spring break, we'll do some groundbreaking in some of those spots. All the elementaries and the preschool.
Okay.
So the purpose was to serve 250 or 60 kids now in a bigger playground. So if we only keep 250 or 60 kids in a bigger playground with more classrooms, all the better. Good question, though.
Any other questions, comments? All right, well, thank you very much for coming out and spending some time with us. Appreciate it.
Did you stop for a photo with whoever was that McComb Daly or was it C&G? The woman taking pictures. I don't know who that was. I didn't. No, she took pictures of the kids that were being recognized. I thought you guys had just clustered together and.
We were back and stuff. Okay, going on to personnel, item 8, changes in personnel.
Tonight, administration is bringing forward the following changes in personnel since the last presentation to the Board of Education on December 3rd. New hires, Sean Maloch, Lakeview High School full-time cashier helper, and Denisha Mayberry, Jefferson Middle School part-time cashier helper. Resignations, Marissa Scott, Wheat Preschool co-op assistant, Donna Visger, Lakeview High School paraprofessional, Linda DeHoogie, Lakeview Public Schools data specialist. Schedule B, new coach and sponsor for the current school year, Kelly Aridin, Lakeview High School bowling girls junior varsity coach.
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Education approve the changes in personnel as presented.
Support. Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Bear, support by Mr. Ashe. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. On to curriculum, Lakeview High School 2025-2026 coursework.
The Lakeview High School administrative team is recommending revisions to the 25-26 Lakeview High School coursebook. The coursebook is attached with the proposed revisions identified and is coming to the full Board of Education for consideration and review this evening. Scott Kapla, principal of Lakeview High School, is here to answer any questions that board members may have pertaining to the 2025-2026 Lakeview High School coursebook.
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Education approve the 2025-2026 Lakeview High School coursebook.
Support?
Here we have a motion by Mr. Bear, support by Ms. Martin. Discussion on the motion.
I have to say, I'm so excited with the added curriculum and stuff.
I had a question, sorry. With respect to qualify for AP, did you always have to have a 3.0?
Yeah, there have been qualifications for a real long time, right?
Okay.
Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to the item B, JMS 2025-2026 coursework.
The Jefferson Middle School administrative team is recommending revisions to the 25-26 Jefferson Middle School coursebook. Coursebook is attached with the proposed revisions identified and is coming to the full Board of Education for consideration and review this evening. Amanda Michaelevich, principal of Jefferson Middle School, is here to answer any questions that board members may have pertaining to the 25-26 Jefferson Middle School coursebook.
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Education approve the 2025-2026 Jefferson Middle School coursebook.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Bear, support by Ms. Taylor. Discussion on the motion. Between the two of these books, compared to where we were years ago, and where we are now, it has been a tremendous gain. Thank you over the years for just bringing this thing forward and making it more dynamic and better for our kids, so that when they walk across that stage, again, they're better prepared. Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. To see Lakeview High School CTE robotics and mechatronics introductory and advanced course proposals.
The Society of Manufacturing Engineers, SME, conducted a regional market analysis that identified 10,000 open positions in manufacturing careers. It detailed the top technical skills that employers are seeking and the most in-demand jobs. In response to this analysis, the SME Education Foundation selected robotics and mechatronics as the career pathway to focus on for training, informing, and engaging students. These fields are growing rapidly, creating strong demand for skilled workers and offering excellent job opportunities for graduates. Lakeview High School is proposing 2 new CTE robotics and mechatronics courses for the 9th through 12th grade students. The introductory and advanced courses offer students the chance to gain technological literacy while providing foundational skills for manufacturing and engineering careers. They also present an opportunity for students to acquire industry-recognized certifications that lead to job and college opportunities. Students will gain hands-on experience in building and programming robots, helping them develop practical problem-solving abilities and applying their knowledge to real-world challenges. These courses also encourage creativity and innovation while promoting critical thinking and STEM education. The introductory course awards 1 credit towards graduation for a 90-minute course. It introduces students to the design process involved in building a robot to complete a series of tasks. The course is intended to produce designs using additive manufacturing equipment and accessories as part of the practical design work and will allow students to program, operate, and troubleshoot a robotic arm. The course topics covered include electrical and mechanical components and systems, mechatronic engineering, additive manufacturing, blueprint reading and schematics, hydraulic and pneumatic components and systems, control systems, safety, health, and environment regulations, robotics, career readiness, and more. Students who master competency in these areas are eligible for a variety of certifications, including certified robot operator or technician with assessment, blueprint, and universal robot certification. Computer-aided design drafting and design instructor Jolene Price applied for and won a $260,000 grant from the SME Education Foundation, which has provided a large amount of equipment to support this career pathway. Students will have an opportunity to utilize a CNC machine, mill, and lathe with controllers, mechatronic labs with expansion kits, AC/DC mechanical and pneumatic trainers, 3D printers, Snap-on toolkits, and more. There is also an advanced course that will award 1 credit towards graduation for a 2-hour class segment. Advanced students will be exposed to work-based learning through guest speakers, specialty field trips, and job shadowing. Leadership opportunities will be made available through project-based learning, ASBE, MITES, Skills USA, and robotics clubs, in addition to students being eligible for exciting externships. SME will fully reimburse Lakeview for all costs associated with required staff training and equipment needed to implement this program at Lakeview High School, scheduled to begin in the fall of 2025. The Lakeview High School Building School Improvement Committee and the District School Improvement Committee have reviewed and approved the proposals for the CTE Robotics and Mechatronics Introductory and Advanced courses. The Board of Education Curriculum Subcommittee has also reviewed the proposal, and it's being presented here tonight for final review and approval by the board.
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Education approve the introductory and advanced CTE robotics and mechatronics course proposals for Lakeview High School to begin fall of 2025.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Taylor, support by Ms. Martin. Discussion on the motion. This is huge,
It's amazing.
especially in this town, with all the opportunities that are out there. This is refreshing.
I just want to add to that, just with my experience with robotics, I'm so happy to see that, and there's so many opportunities, and I love that you have the robotics clubs, because there are so many opportunities, and it gives opportunities for kids who might not be involved in other things.
Yes.
It really does, and they can really find their place and find a career.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really exciting to me myself. About that.
Sorry, I would just like to say a huge thank you to Ms. Price for doing the legwork, and congratulations. This is huge for our school. I think that a lot of kids are going to see advancement that probably wouldn't. And I'm hoping that some of this would count towards a math curriculum at some point in time, or that math course in 12th grade, I think, that we should look at. It does? It is already in there. Okay, I couldn't remember if we did that or not, but yeah. So I just think this is really going to bring in a lot of kids that are more applied learners than theoretical learners. So, yeah.
Any other comments?
Just an aside, Price was at training about 2 weeks this past summer, two different sessions for 2 different reasons. That was covered by SME grant. You know, going to Kansas for a week, going to Minneapolis or something for a week, for these training on these, how to utilize these with their curriculum. So
Nice.
that's a commitment all by itself.
Yeah.
Right.
She actually couldn't be here tonight because she's at a training, but she's very excited.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
I know an outfit that's very heavy into robotics that I could probably get some of these kids into just to do a look-see and take a tour, and it's cool stuff.
Very cool.
Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Item D, Lakeview High School Automotive Program Vehicle Donation.
The Lakeview High School Automotive Program has been offered a vehicle to be donated to the program for students to work on. The donation is being offered by Mr. Brian Betts, who is a community member that has supported the LHS Auto Shop program over the years, including as a past customer. The vehicle being donated is a 2011 Ford Escape station wagon, estimated to be worth about $2,500. Auto Shop teacher Jim Schneider says that it will be used during lab and shop time to help students become more familiar in completing the tasks needed to keep an automobile running smoothly.
Mr. President, I recommend that the Board of Education approve the donation from Mr. Brian Betts of the 2011 Ford Escape station wagon for the Lakeview High School Automotive Program. Support.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Martin, support by Ms. Taylor. Discussion on the motion. Another awesome opportunity for kids. Anything else? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Now we go on to other requests for closed session to discuss superintendent's evaluation.
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Education approve going into closed session for the purpose of discussing the superintendent's evaluation.
Support.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Can you remind Ms. Stanton the order of the roll call vote? Because I don't want to give her the wrong information. I always struggled with that.
The roll call vote starts with the person that made the motion and then seconded the motion. Then it should go from that end of the table all the way around to myself as the last.
You start on that?
Yes.
So, yeah, so you say Mr. Bear?
Okay, Mr. Bear?
Aye.
Ms. Martin?
Aye.
Mr. Muskelly?
Aye.
Ms. Taylor?
Aye.
Mr. Asha?
Yes.
And Ms. Stanton, yes.
Yeah.
And Mr. Dombrowski?
Aye.
Okay.
7-0. Awesome. All right, for the record, it is 9:04. Unless somebody has something they need to take care of outside of this room, down the hall or something, we can go right into closed session. Okay, now for this.
You want me to escape and come back later?
Yeah, I'll come find you. Is this the best we got here?
You don't need to plug it in. It was
It's
charged.
got enough juice in it?
Yeah, it was charged before she even came down.
You got it, you're good.
Yes.
I have to leave for a while.